when building with the Create mod, it's in your best interest to stop using belts. What if there was something we could replace it all with that could do everything that we could do now, plus more, and quicker? But I mean, sure, they look great, and there's so many things you can do with them you can't pull off in any other mod, but they're also a resource hog. I've got a ton of my belts shut off, and I'm still only running at 15 frames per second. Maybe your computer's a beast and can handle all of this and more, but it's also killing your productivity. Anytime something passes through a tunnel, there's a pause as it calculates where it needs to go. When you have lots of resources coming through, they have to pause and wait for them all to be able to fit onto the belts. And when you've got tons of resources heading down the same belt, it backlogs things, it takes forever for stuff to get any place, and it really slows down your whole system. There's a lot of common ways we can move stuff within the Create mod, but realistically, they're not that great. We can move things across funnels, we can pull things out of chests, put them back into chests, you can go down chutes, fans can blow items across the ground, chutes can have fans attached to be able to blow items back up top, you can have arms that grab things off of depots that put them into funnels, they can put them onto ejectors, ejectors can throw to ejectors or depots or conveyors or all sorts of different things. There's even trains that can come around and pick up different items, they can be stored inside the train can move along, deposit items over into a whole nother location, and things can just continue moving on. Most of the stuff requires mechanical power to be able to work, and if something happens to one part of it, everything else after it stops working, except for the train. But what's also neat about the trains is the trains can transport large amounts of resources. So I started playing around with things to try and figure out how much could we actually get done with trains. You can place a whole bunch of items inside a chest. They can then be picked up by the train, stored inside, and the train can go off to all of the different locations that I've set for it. For example, this could have just dropped off a bunch of iron ore, and the iron ore is loaded up in here, and then this train comes by and it's going to pick up all of the iron ore now. If I use conveyors to transport the iron ore all the way over to our crusher over there, it would take a fair amount of time. But the train's already loaded up instantly, and it's on its way. And in a matter of seconds, it's already dropping off tons of ore. If we mouse over this, I don't have any goggles on. But I mean, before I even had the chance to go and grab goggles, the train's already finished dropping off all of the resources, and everything here has already begun grinding away at the iron ore. The speed at which all of this works is so much faster and far more efficient than you'd ever be able to have with conveyor belts. Every single resource can be stored into a single tank and then just moved between sections at the blink of an eye. So I thought, let's play around with the idea and bring it out into a much larger scale. And there's actually a few interesting things I learned about the Create mod while working on this. So let's say I just got back from a nice mining session. We ended up having a bunch of resources on us, a ton of cobblestone, some raw iron, some gold, just all these different resources. So our sorting system begins by stopping there and dumping off any extra resources we don't have a proper storage spot for, and then it'll pick up all of the items here. And normally what would take a long time to transport through the entire conveyor system, it's all being loaded immediately up into the train right here. And then it just takes off to locations that we've marked off, and it's going to deposit everything for us. We can see our diamonds are coming in nicely. We've put a special filter on here, so we're gonna get raw iron and gold, all of the mixture of these resources together. We got our dirt coming in as well as the cobblestone at the same time because we've located them side by side. All of these resources, that's insanely fast. Then the train heads on over here to where we got all of our nether stuff because, you know, why not? And then comes back on right over in here. It's gonna dump off some of this stuff. It's gonna circle back in around and then come over and drop off all the Create stuff. The amount of conveyors we would have had to set up to be able to get everything to these locations would have been enormous. Plus the conveyors would have just started to take up a whole bunch of processing power eventually, and there's no way we would have been able to have all of this plus all the other stuff all connected together and then expect everything to run 100% smoothly. Like everything here is operating at full capacity, and I'm at a solid 60 frames per second. It's like, this is incredibly cool. So while this train's going around and it's dropping off the resources I specifically put into the chest, we also have another train that's moving around. It begins its day right over here at our tree farm. So we have a couple different trains here that circle around at an infinitely scalable automated tree farm. Again, nothing that we've done here so far that you've seen is using any mechanical power. So if anything shuts down, everything still just works autonomously forever. Our tree train starts its journey here where it loads up on any excess logs that it can fit within its capacity. And then the train should shortly start to take off, and it's gonna do its first stop here at another location we've marked where it's gonna drop off a bunch of logs that are gonna be then sawed down into stripped wood. And then it's gonna take off, it's gonna start making its way back around and meet up and drop off logs over here. So if I remove a bunch of these, things should start flowing down from this top shelf, but we're gonna see everything start to fill up from our train up above. So there we go. It just starts flowing right in. And then this thing just keeps going around on an infinite loop. I never have to worry about it. I've always got everything that I need for trees. How our tree farm works is pretty simple. We have saws located on the bottom with our deployers placed on top. Deployers are marked so that they place all sorts of saplings. There's a bit of a mess here because I was playing around with some settings a little bit before here. Every train that comes through loads everything up into here and just it gets ready to be transported out throughout the server. One of the neat things I discovered is if you have a saw that drops items into a chute, if the chute has items in it, the saw just won't throw items out. So there's a nice easy little way to set up the mechanical saw that I thought was kind of neat. One of the things that sucks with the latest update of the crate mod, whenever lava would start to push out of a pipe, if water was there, it would immediately turn into cobblestone and you wouldn't lose any lava. So once you had a couple tanks set up, you were good to go. But with the most recent update, you do use a slight amount. You can see here, a slight amount of lava gets used every time. So eventually you will run out of lava. So you do have to set up an automated lava source to be able to fuel this. With the speed that I have of this automated cobblestone generator, this needs to probably double or triple so that it can keep up with the lava demand that cobblestone generator needs, which kind of sucks. I didn't design that cobblestone generator. I'll put a link to his schematic on the crate mod website that you can get a link to and download that yourself if you're interested, because it's really cool. I wanted to try and make as many things as possible without using the traditional ways that I've done before. So I tried at first to do an automated cobblestone farm using a train going back and forth. The only way it could even compete to 5% of the productivity of that one is if this was probably 10 times the size. So it wasn't worth it, wasn't efficient. It did take a little bit of time, but I was able to come up with a way to automate andesite without using funnels, but it involved using ejectors. But one of the neat things I found about ejectors is there's a limited amount of items that ejectors can throw through. My original design had the ejectors located here and here, where the gravel would be able to throw in properly, but the flint would get caught coming through the second block here. So what I had to do was come up with a design down below so that it could throw the items through everything that was needed. But you can see it all works out great, except for this one here, where the flint comes up and hits the bottom of this and falls down. There's some neat things I want to play around with that. In season 5 of the Neverbound SMP, we had the create mod, and there were some areas that started to lag a little bit, and we had about half of the stuff going on of what we have here. And I think it's because we're using the train tracks versus the conveyor belts. So not only is it helping with lag, but we're also moving things through the system 10 times as fast, at least, than what we would have been able to if we were using just regular conveyor belts. So I still plan on playing around with it a bit more, seeing what other kind of things I can do with the trains and what kind of other automation I can get done to avoid conveyor belts. But I think it's really cool. You should definitely look into using train tracks instead of conveyor belts in your own crate mod systems. Hey, Editor Spencer here. I was playing around with a couple different things. I don't have my green screen up, but I came up with the solution for an automated, no mechanical energy farm for our andesite casings. I mean, it's not perfect. You can see a couple things sneaking in from the backside over there. This thing will just go in circles forever. I get as much as I want as long as I can keep it supplied. And like I said, no mechanical energy. Plus it's on a train and they just don't lag at all. It's impressive. They're the best part about the crate mod. I love them so much. I will never give them up.